You are not naive. You didn't end up in a toxic relationship because you were desperate or weak or didn't know better. In fact, the smarter you are, the more emotionally aware you are, the more you care about depth and meaning in your connections, the more vulnerable you become to exactly the kind of person who will use all of that against you. This isn't a coincidence. This is a pattern. And once you understand the psychology behind it, you will never see these relationships the same way again. By the end of this video, you're going to understand three things. First, why the specific qualities that make you emotionally intelligent are the same qualities that attract toxic people like a signal in the dark. Second, the unconscious patterns inside you that keep the cycle running even when you think you've broken free. And third, the exact internal shifts that don't just change who you attract, but change how you show up in every relationship you enter. This isn't about blame. It never was. This is about understanding yourself so clearly that no one can use your depth against you ever again. Let's start with the trait most people would never think to question: empathy. Highly intelligent people tend to have well-developed empathy. They notice things. They pick up on the unspoken. They can feel when someone is hurting before that person says a word. This is a gift. But in the presence of a toxic person, someone who operates through manipulation, emotional instability, or the constant shifting of blame, this gift becomes a liability. Here's what happens. Toxic people, often unconsciously, project distress. They signal pain, and your empathic nature responds. You want to understand. You want to help. You feel a pull toward this person that feels like connection, but is actually your own empathy reaching for someone who has learned over years to trigger exactly that response in others. Psychologists call this empathy exploitation. You are not being foolish. You are being human. But the first thing you need to understand is this: not all pain deserves your energy, and not all emotional depth is real. The second reason intelligent people are vulnerable is what I call the fixer pattern. Smart people are problem solvers by nature. They see a broken thing and they want to fix it. In professional life, this is an asset. In relationships, especially with emotionally unavailable or toxic people, it becomes a trap. Because when someone is broken in front of you, and you genuinely believe, that with enough patience, enough love, enough understanding, you can be the one who changes things, you are no longer in a relationship. You are in a project. And the toxic person doesn't need to manipulate you consciously. Your own intelligence is doing the work for them. You are building the case for why they deserve your investment. You are finding the reasons. You are constructing the argument for staying. This is the trap, and the smarter you are, the more elaborate and convincing that case becomes. Now let's talk about what is actually happening beneath all of this, because understanding the surface-level patterns is useful, but understanding the deeper mechanism is what sets you free. There is a concept in psychology called the depth blind spot. Smart, introspective people spend a great deal of time examining themselves, their motivations, their patterns, their wounds. This internal orientation is healthy. It builds self-awareness. It makes you better. But it also creates an assumption, often unconscious, that other people operate the same way. That if someone seems complex, it means they are self-reflective. That intensity means depth. That chaos means they are working through something. Toxic people are, in many cases, extremely intense. They create emotional experiences that feel significant. They can seem deeply interesting, even mysterious, and your intelligent mind, which craves meaning and complexity, interprets this intensity as depth. It is not. Intensity without self-awareness is just instability. Complexity without accountability is just chaos, and chaos is not a personality. It is a warning. The depth blind spot makes you fill in the gaps. You project your own inner richness onto someone who does not have it. You see potential where there is only pattern. You hear what you hope they mean, rather than watching what they consistently do. There is one more layer to this, and it may be the most important thing in this entire video. Many people who identify as intelligent, empathetic fixers grew up in environments where love felt conditional, where they had to earn calm, where they learned early on that emotional instability in someone else was a problem they were responsible for solving. And so the adult self, encountering emotional chaos, does not recognize it as a red flag. It recognizes it as familiar. And familiar, even when it is painful, can feel like home. This is not a flaw in you. This is a wound that was given to you before you had any way to protect yourself from it. The first step towards healing it is simply naming it, which is what you are doing right now. So how do you actually break the cycle? Not theoretically, practically. There are 3 shifts, not rules, not tips, shifts, because this is about changing how you perceive, not just how you behave. Shift 1. Stop evaluating people by their potential. Start evaluating them by their pattern. The fixer in you will always see what someone could become with the right love, the right support, the right time. And that vision is seductive because it's possible. People do change, but change requires self-awareness and consistent effort over time. What you are looking for is not one good week, not one sincere apology, not one moment of clarity. You are looking for a pattern of accountability, a pattern of consistency, a pattern of growth. If you cannot find that pattern after months, it is not there, and your empathy cannot put it there. Shift 2. Make discomfort your compass, not your project. When you feel uneasy around someone, when something feels slightly off, when explanations don't quite line up, when you find yourself working harder to understand their behavior than they are, that feeling is data. For most people who attract toxic relationships, the trained response to discomfort is to move towards it, to understand it, to resolve it. This is your empathy in action. But from now on, discomfort in another person is a signal for you to observe, not to rescue. You do not need to fix every uncomfortable thing in front of you. You are allowed to simply notice it, name it, and decide without guilt what it means for you. Shift 3. Crave consistency the way you currently crave intensity. Toxic relationships are intense. They are dramatic. They create a biochemical cycle of highs and lows that your nervous system can become genuinely addicted to. Healthy relationships, real ones, are steady. They are calm. They are sometimes, to be honest, a little boring by comparison. And if you have spent years in emotional chaos, calm can feel like distance. Stability can feel like indifference. You find yourself wondering if there is enough there because there is no fire, not realizing that the fire was burning you all along. The shift is learning, slowly, intentionally, to find safety in steadiness, to let yourself be chosen quietly, consistently, without drama, to recognize that someone who shows up the same way on a Tuesday that they do on a Friday, who does not make you question yourself, who does not require you to manage their emotional state, that is not boring, that is rare, and that is what you deserve. Here is what I want you to leave with today. The fact that you keep ending up in these relationships does not mean something is broken in you. It means you are deeply human, with a level of emotional capacity that most people simply do not have. The work is not about becoming less empathetic. It is about becoming more discerning, directing your empathy like a decision, not a reflex. Understanding the difference between someone who is going through pain and someone who has made their pain your responsibility. You are not required to save people at the cost of yourself. The people who are right for you, who are genuinely worthy of your depth, will not need you to fix them. They will not put you through tests. They will not keep you guessing. They will simply show up, again and again and again, in the quiet ways that do not make for a dramatic story, but make for a real life. And when you finally experience that, the steadiness, the consistency, the peace of being with someone who does not require you to lose yourself, you will understand that you were never asking for too much. You were just looking in the wrong places. If this video gave you something, share it with one person who needs to hear it, and subscribe, because this is what we do here every week. We think clearly in a world that rarely does.